Hey campers, I'm Landon with Luno, and today I'm going to be walking you through my winter car camping setup out of the back of my Toyota 4Runner. So I'm going to walk you through some tips, tricks today, kind of how I dial in my rig for camping during the winter months. You might be wondering, why the heck would you go out and camp in the winter? Well, one thing is that the views are absolutely amazing. So you get snowy vistas that you really can't get any other time of year. But camping wise, it's still a ton of fun. Even though it's a little bit cold, as long as you have the right gear and you go out there and give it a try and kind of dial things in, you're gonna have a great time. So I'm gonna walk you through some of the things that I've learned that make it a little bit more comfortable, and hope you enjoy. Cool, so this is what my solo setup looks like when I go out. I usually have one of the dogs with me, and when I go out by myself, especially for like fly fishing trips or backcountry ski trips, this is what my rig looks like. I've got my Luno mattress set up in solo sided right now, so that way I can keep all my gear next to me, out of the cold and a little bit drier. So in winter camping, this is kind of the biggest piece of gear that maybe is more specific to winter camping than camping during any other month of the year. You're gonna wanna have a really warm bag. So during the summer months, you can get away with a 50 degree, 40 degree, but as soon as you start venturing out and trying to camp in the winter, you might wanna start consider something more like a 15 degree. That's what I have here. It's a 15 degree with 650 down filling. So it is natural down most nights. This is absolutely more than I need. But another thing you can add to your sleep setup for wintertime is a sleeping bag liner. So a sleeping bag liner essentially is this really soft fleeced fabric. It's basically a big sock for your body. And by sleeping in this, you can add a few degrees of warmth to your sleep setup. So you'll sleep inside of this, inside of your sleeping bag. So that way too, if you do have maybe a sleeping bag that's not rated for extreme cold, just get a nice liner, and that way you can increase the temperature rating of your sleep system while just buying a liner rather than a whole new bag. So that's kind of an easy tip if you don't want to go out and spend too much money getting a whole new sleeping bag. This is definitely a luxury and not a necessity, but it's a heated blanket. So this is a heated blanket from a brand called Ignic. It's USB-C powered, so all you need is either a carport that stays live while your car's off, or you need some sort of battery bank like a Goal Zero, Jackery. But I use a Goal Zero in my sleep setup. I charge my camera equipment, my phone overnight, and then also I will be using it to power my heated blanket. This is definitely a luxury, not a necessity, but it will be nice to have an extra bit of warmth on those extra chilly nights. Another great way to add some insulation to your vehicle is to use a thing called Reflecti. It's basically a shiny insulated bubble wrap that you can cut out to fit your windows. If you oversize them slightly, you can just press them into the sides of the windows and they'll hold themselves in. It's a great way to add some warmth and keep in the warmth overnight while camping. So now I'm gonna go through a few winter items that I bring along that kind of make life a little bit more enjoyable when it's cold out. So first thing is a backup puffy blanket. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, just as long as it's puffy and as long as it keeps you warm. A backup puffy blanket is a must, especially if you're traveling with pets. They sometimes get chilly and the extra blanket comes in handy for them. Another thing is a good pair of gloves, especially a nice warm lined pair that you're not afraid to get wet or afraid to get dirty. These come in handy too, especially if you get stuck in your vehicle, if you need to shovel off snow from anything, chop firewood. A nice sturdy pair of winter gloves that are insulated is going to save your hands during colder temperatures. So to complement that is a thin pair of gloves. Like I said, these don't have to be anything fancy as long as they keep your hands warm. So that way, when you are trying to just do little small things around camp, you have the dexterity you need with a smaller pair of gloves to keep your hands warm. So I keep an extra pair of nice wool, cozy socks in my vehicle. Whether you're traveling, camping, or doing anything out of your vehicle, I would suggest throwing an extra pair in there just in case, so your toes can always stay warm. Another thing I keep in my car pretty much all winter long, especially when I'm camping, is a set of gaiters. These wrap around the bottom of your pants and hold onto the bottom of your shoe. So that way snow doesn't come up and over your boots and into them. They can keep the bottom of your pants dry, and they're great to just have in case you're in deeper snow than you want it to be. Something else I carry with me during the winter are micro spikes or any sort of traction device that goes on the bottom of your shoe. That way, if you are working around your vehicle, shoveling stuff out from under it, or needing to clear your campsite, you're not slipping around everywhere. It's also always good to have a first aid kit on hand. I have this one here that has all the essentials in it. Everything from trauma treatment and supplies to super glue. You can keep whatever you need in it depending on what type of activities you get into. I also always bring a jet boil with me or some way to boil water quickly. That way at night I can warm myself up with a hot beverage, or I can melt snow if needed for extra water. Another hack is to boil some water right before bed, put it in a Nalgene bottle and toss that in the bottom of your sleeping bag, and you'll never wake up in the middle of the night again from cold toes. And then lastly, one of maybe the most important things in the winter is a shovel. So this is a small collapsible shovel. This one isn't anything too fancy. If you're a skier, you might already have an Avi shovel, but something like this to keep in your vehicle during the winter is key, especially if you're doing any off-roading, or really it's just handy to have just driving around town in case you need to rescue yourself or rescue someone else. So one tip that is too good not to share, I had to set up my double mattress so I could show you, but both sides set up. I've got the Luno fitted sheet on here. It's a fitted sheet that's a quick dry material that's specifically designed to hug all the weird corners of the Luno mattress, but in the winter time, you can simply put another blanket. I actually recommend not a puffy blanket, but more like a fleece blanket from home. Put that underneath and then put your sheet over it so it holds it in place and provides even more comfort and insulation to your mattress. It's so cozy. It's one of my favorite things to do when I have both sides set up, and you should give it a try. Yeah, the Luno fitted sheet paired with the mattress and then a blanket from home, and you're cozy. So that concludes all the tips and tricks and how I dial in my rig for car camping in the wintertime. The sun is setting and it's getting pretty chilly, so we're gonna call it a night. Hope you learned something today. Hope I could teach you something new. And for more resources, tips and tricks, check out the websites linked below, and we'll see you out on the trails.